Invited on to present tonight or provide testimony, we have Ricky Carullo, General Manager, Providence Water Supply, Zai, Chairman of the Providence Water Supply Board, Bill O'Gara, Legal Counsel. I believe they're at the table. Everybody's at the table, as well as Jeff Dana, our City Solicitor. If you could just state your name for the record, and then I'm going to ask the Madam Clerk to swear you all in.
Jeffrey Dana, City Solicitor. William O'Gara.
Ricky Carullo, General Manager, Providence Water.
Second, Council Waterbaum, Chairman, Providence Water.
Please raise your right hand. Would you swear to the perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. I guess I'd like to start with perhaps the Water Board. If you can explain the relationship between the City of Providence and the Providence Water Board.
Sure. Providence Water is a division of the City of Providence, regulated by the public authorities, commissioned for our revenues, regulated by the Department of Environmental Management and Discharge, and we're regulated by the Department of Health and Water. So we kind of have several people that need to answer to several agencies.
Okay. Who governs your wholesale operation?
What do you mean governs?
Who oversights it? Who manages it? Who runs your wholesale operation?
As wholesale
Who
customers.
looks at the contracts? Who approves the contracts?
Okay, that's a little more specific for me. There are no wholesale contracts, with the exception of
Could you speak up? I'm having trouble
I'm having
hearing.
trouble hearing you as well.
Providence Water does not have any wholesale contracts, with the exception of Lincoln Water, which I believe expires in 2018. That's subject to check. The wholesale contracts expired approximately 10 years ago. The wholesale customers, in an attempt to renegotiate those contracts, the wholesale customers had zero incentive to have a contract, and Providence Water really doesn't have much authority to force them into a contract. So all contracts, with the exception of Lincoln Water, have been expired.
What is the nature of your contract or relationship with Johnston?
Johnston, through enabling legislation, is allowed to take water at 150 gallons per capita. It's their right, that enabling legislation.
Per day.
Per day.
And how much was that, please?
I believe it's 150 gallons per capita.
Is that, okay, so there's no, it's not contractual. It's by statute?
Yes. So, may I?
Please.
In 1915, the General Assembly enacted a 50-page law that created Providence Water Supply Board. That legislation gave the City of Providence, at the time, tremendous powers. It allowed the City of Providence to go into other communities and take by condemnation property in other communities to construct the reservoir. The legislation created the Water Supply Board to regulate and to operate the entity. The statute, as part of those 50 pages, mandates that Providence Water supply on a wholesale basis water to a number of communities. Johnston is one of the communities that, by law, we're obligated to make water available to the town.
Your obligation, is it specific to the amount they need? It's potable water, is that correct?
It is, and it's essentially, by statute, they're allowed up to this limit, which is 150 gallons per day, per capita. I did a rough calculation that I can't swear to, but it's over 540 million gallons of water a year. It's a tremendous amount of water. They are not, the town of Johnston, and I'll defer to Ricky on this, to my knowledge, is not close to what its statutory limit would be to purchase water from Providence Water Supply.
You said up to. Help me understand that, because in my mind that means up to their need.
up to that limit, which is the 150 gallon multiplied per capita multiplied by days.
Okay. How is the excess created in that they can, you know, they have more than they need to serve their community, and they feel that they have the right or ability to sell it to others?
So the
How does that
challenge,
happen?
the challenge that Providence Water Supply Board would have regulating what Johnston does, or any of our wholesale customers, ultimately use the water for, or sell the water, or do anything with the water, is there's nothing in the legislation that specifically gives us the right to say to a wholesale customers, you can use the water for this, but you can't use it for that. And I think historically, the Water Supply Board has never set specific limitations or dictates as to what a wholesale customer can or can't do with the water. The other issue that's out there is the statute does contain a limitation in that in the event of a drought, Providence Water Supply has the right to, quote, regulate the amount and use of water. So when I look at that provision in the statute, that grants us the right, again, in a drought condition, to regulate how much water we're selling to Johnson or to any other wholesale customer, and what they're doing with the water. But absent a drought condition, the fact that the statute doesn't give us other powers is an indication that right to regulate what they're doing with the water or reselling the water, at least based on the legislation as it exists now, appears to be limited.
Is it Rhode Island in a drought? Don't we have a 5-year drought?
Not to my knowledge, but I'll defer to Ricky on that.
I could tell you that towards the end of the summer, I believe the Water Resources Board claimed that we were in a drought. Providence Water did not experience drought conditions with our capacity. We're rated our 80-plus year average. Actually, right now, we probably have excess water, and we're almost spilling from the reservoir, and this is a concern going into the winter months for us. Because that's usually when the reservoir fills up from the winter, the snowfall, the melt, and going into the spring. So right now, we have excess capacity.
We, meaning Providence.
Meaning Providence Water.
But do other municipalities have drought conditions, or is it more severe in different locations?
The state issued, that we were in drought conditions towards the end of the summer, fall, subject to that. But those conditions did not affect Providence Water, our retail base, or our wholesale base. Now, South County, they may have had restrictions, utilities down in the South County area, but from Providence Water standpoint, we did not have any restrictions.
Who sets the drought standard? Is that Providence Water? Is it a federal standard?
This was I believe, the Water Resources Board.
Okay.
So, it's by state, so it's not necessarily by region, from my understanding.
Attorney Gary, you're basically saying that the only way you could restrict the Providence Water Supply Board, could restrict resale or sale, is based on a drought condition.
I would say that there's no language in the statute that authorizes us, absent a drought condition, to regulate the use that the water is ultimately being used for.
If I may add, I believe it's drought conditions where, we feel our rate base or our customers will be in jeopardy, something that we would impose on our customers based on our capacity. So although, like you saw what happened in the summer into the fall, there were drought conditions, but again, we had excess capacity. So there would be no reason for us to restrict.
Does Johnston, are there other municipalities that resell the water besides Johnston?
Well, when you say resell the water, for example, if there's a business in another community, say Pepsi Cola, and I know it's in Cranston, but if they will in an area where there was a wholesaler, the wholesaler would be selling that water. So Johnston Water District is its own utility, and they have their own customers. They have a retail base and maybe some commercial customers. I'm not familiar with that system. We just acquired the East Smithfield Water District system that I'm sure had manufacturing. So, I think the question you're asking is, can we stop the Johnston Water District from reselling the water? And I do not believe we have that ability. Basically, we sell water to them and they pay for the water. And then however they choose to use that water, it is up to the Johnston Water District to make that decision. So if it's a car wash, it's a car wash. If it's Pepsi Cola, it's Pepsi Cola. I think Mr. Maselli mentioned pool filling companies that take the water and resell the water. We have some of them. They will come to Providence Water, they will rent the fire hydrant meter, the backflow preventer, protect the system. They'll buy water from us, and then they will resell it to fill the pools. So it does happen.
The statute doesn't make any distinction between potable water and water that isn't potable?
I would defer that.
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm going to ask Solicitor Dana, is there any way that you're aware of that you can restrict the resale of our water?
No. Per the council's request, I reviewed the applicable enabling legislation. What Attorney O'Gara's analysis, as he just stated, is accurate per the language of the enabling legislation. So, absent any change in the enabling legislation, neither the city nor Providence Water has any authority under the legislation to restrict what the wholesale purchasers do.
Any members, do you have any questions?